The illusion. They want you looking at the sky. They want you obsessed with the numbers on a screen. They tell you to buy gold. They tell you to hoard crypto. They tell you that digital assets are the future of sovereignty. But while you are staring at the distraction, the hands that truly spin the world are quietly seizing the only thing that matters. Look closely at the portfolios of the ultra-wealthy over the last 24 months. Not what they say on television, but what they do in the shadows. There is a massive capital flight occurring right now. It is leaving the cities, it is leaving the banks, and it is sinking into something ancient, something tangible. Several of the world's most powerful billionaires have been quietly acquiring land on a scale that feels almost unreal. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, has become the largest private farmland owner in the United States, controlling roughly 240,000 to 250,000 acres of agricultural land spread across nearly 20 states. This is not a single estate, but a vast patchwork of productive soil that rivals the size of entire metropolitan areas. Mark Zuckerberg and his wife have built a similarly striking footprint in Hawaii, where they own more than 2,300 acres on the island of Kauai alone, forming an enormous private compound of ranch land and forest that continues to expand. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, owns approximately 420,000 to 460,000 acres of ranch land in West Texas, placing him among the largest private landholders in the country. Individually, these purchases seem eccentric. Together, the sheer scale raises an unsettling question about why so much land is being consolidated by so few. Why? Why would the architects of the digital age suddenly become obsessed with dirt? If you are new here, welcome to the Hidden Secrets Archive. We uncover the truths they scrub from the algorithms. Before we descend into the dark reality of this new asset, make sure you are subscribed and have the bell notification turned on. This is the only way to ensure you receive the briefing before the information is suppressed. Do it now. The window is closing. Most people believe this is just diversification. They are wrong. This is not an investment strategy. It is an exit strategy. The asset revealed. The asset isn't just land. It is what flows beneath it and what grows upon it. The elite are monopolizing the biological imperatives of life, arable soil and fresh water rights. While the media distracts you with culture wars and political theater, a silent acquisition is taking place. They are buying the water tables. They are buying the grain belts. The great taking is not a new idea. It is a recurring pattern in history, and it always begins the same way, with the quiet transfer of what was once common into the hands of the few. In medieval England, this process was called enclosure. For centuries, peasants lived off shared land, grazing animals, growing food, surviving through access rather than ownership. Then fences appeared. Laws were rewritten. Commons were seized, privatized, and defended by force. Families were expelled from land they had relied on for generations and pushed into dependency on wages and landlords. Today, the fences are no longer wooden. They are financial. Institutions like BlackRock and Vanguard do not wear crowns, but their reach is imperial. Through ETFs, farmland funds, water rights, housing portfolios, and corporate ownership, they sit upstream of nearly everything required to live. You may still buy food, pay for water, and rent shelter, but ownership quietly vanishes from the equation. This is the modern enclosure. Not eviction by soldiers, but dispossession by contracts, debt, and asset concentration. The future being shaped is one where you participate in life only as a subscriber. The land is owned. The systems are owned. And like feudal serfs before, you are permitted access, so long as you keep paying. Think about the timeline. We are seeing supply chain collapses, processed food shortages, and a push for synthetic alternatives for the masses. Yet the elite are securing organic, self-sustaining ecosystems for themselves. This leads us to the first terrifying theory. Theory 1 suggests this is about control. By owning the food and water, they bypass governments entirely. If you control the currency, you control the economy. But if you control the calories, you control the population. It is the ultimate leverage. When the shelves go empty, gold cannot be eaten. Bitcoin cannot quench thirst. When the system fractures, the man with the well is king. But there are some in the deep web circles who believe this theory is too optimistic. They believe the elite aren't trying to control the population. They believe they are preparing to survive without it. The Ark Protocol. We must interrupt this briefing for a critical realization. If this were simply about money, they would be buying rental properties in cities. But they are buying remote locations, high altitudes, places far from the coastlines. Why move away from the centers of commerce? This brings us to Theory 2, the Ark Protocol. The elite have access to data that you do not. They have models that predict weather patterns, solar cycles, and geological shifts decades in advance. Among those who study power, there is a whispered phrase that surfaces again and again: the event. It is never described plainly, only gestured toward through fragments, declassified documents, abandoned research papers, and half-acknowledged scientific warnings. One such fragment is the Adam and Eve story, a controversial manuscript long rumored to have circulated within intelligence circles, describing cyclical global catastrophes tied to sudden shifts in the Earth itself. Whether taken literally or symbolically, its reappearance in declassified archives fuels a deeper unease. Modern science adds its own shadows. Astrophysicists openly warn of a future solar superstorm, a Carrington-level event capable of frying satellites, collapsing power grids, and erasing the digital spine of civilization in hours. Geophysicists debate the stability of Earth's magnetic poles, noting that pole shifts have happened before, often coinciding with mass extinctions and abrupt climate chaos. What makes the event unsettling is not just the science, but the behavior of those at the top. Hardened bunkers, remote land purchases, private infrastructure independent of public systems. These are not the actions of people who believe tomorrow will look like today. The suggestion is simple and terrifying. The elite are not preparing for prosperity. They are preparing for survival. And whatever is coming, they believe it is inevitable. If you knew the grid was going down permanently, what would you buy? You wouldn't buy stocks. You would buy a self-sustaining fortress. You would buy a place where the water flows without a pump and the soil grows without a supermarket. They aren't buying farmland to sell corn to you. They are buying it to sustain their bloodlines while the rest of the world burns. If you are watching this, you are the resistance. You are the ones paying attention. If you haven't yet, check your notification settings. We have a deep dive documentary on the Antarctica anomalies coming next week, and you cannot afford to miss it. The synthetic twist, the conflict. But there is a third possibility, one that is darker than starvation and stranger than the apocalypse. Look at who is buying the land. It isn't farmers. It is technocrats, men obsessed with transhumanism, synthetic biology, and genetic editing. Why do computer scientists need millions of acres of soil? When viewed through a biopharma lens, the land acquisitions take on a more unsettling meaning. Modern agriculture is no longer just about food. It is about biology as infrastructure. Crops have become platforms. Seeds are engineered, genomes edited, traits patented. Vast stretches of land offer controlled environments where genetically modified organisms can be cultivated at scale, not merely to feed populations, but to carry code. In theory, plants can be designed to act as delivery systems, producing compounds, proteins, or signals that once belonged only to laboratories. The line between agriculture and medicine quietly dissolves. In this framing, the true asset is not the soil itself, but what grows from it. Genetic sequences, biological pathways, nature rewritten and owned. Corporations already patent seeds, microbes, and modified organisms, locking life behind intellectual property law. Land becomes the factory floor for biology, and access to food becomes access to licensed genetics. If this trajectory continues, ownership shifts again. You may eat, but you do not own what sustains you. The harvest is leased, the biology is branded, and the code of life itself becomes a managed commodity. The conflicting theories leave us with a disturbing paradox. On one hand, they preach sustainability. On the other, they are privatizing nature. Are they saving the earth, or are they fencing it off? Are they preparing to feed the future, or are they preparing to replace nature with something they own? This asset, this biological real estate, is the final frontier of capitalization. They have monetized your attention. They have monetized your debt. Now, they are monetizing the very biological processes that keep you alive. I want you to pause and think. Type the word survival in the comments if you plan to grow your own food this year. Let the algorithm know we are awake. The unanswered question. The pattern is undeniable. The consolidation is accelerating. They are moving their chips off the table of the global economy and putting them into the physical bedrock of the planet. Whether it is for neo-feudal control, a shelter against a coming cataclysm, or the genetic patenting of reality itself, the outcome for the common man remains the same. Exclusion. You are being priced out of existence. Inaction is the quiet enemy. It feels safe, reasonable, normal, until it isn't. History punishes those who wait for permission while the ground shifts beneath their feet. The danger is not collapse alone, but dependency. Waking up one day and realizing you have no skills, no resilience, no leverage outside a system that no longer serves you. The official narrative says everything is fine, that stability is permanent, that experts have it under control. That story has always been told right before the fall. Self-reliance is not paranoia, it is preparedness. Learn to build, grow, fix, and think independently. Question incentives. Diversify your abilities, not just your income. The future belongs to those who can stand without scaffolding when the lights go out. We have presented you with the evidence. The dots are connected. The picture is ugly, but it is real. They are building a world where they are the lords of the harvest, and you are merely the livestock. But knowledge is the only weapon that cannot be confiscated. By watching this, you have taken the first step out of the illusion. We will be releasing the names of the specific corporations hiding behind these land purchases in our next transmission. You do not want to be in the dark when that list goes public. Subscribe. Like this video to break the censorship algorithm. Share this with one person you trust, and only one. Now, I leave you with this question to debate in the comments. I will be reading your theories. If the elite are building lifeboats, and there aren't enough seats for everyone, what are you doing today to ensure you don't drown?